Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this roundtable about Phygital NFTs, co-hosted by Farandole and Blockchain at HEC. So I'm Maxime, member of the core team of Blockchain at HEC, which was created in 2017 by David Servet to share knowledge on the Web3 economy, blockchain, and to connect ecosystems. I'll moderate this session with Dimitri, also member of the core team. First of all, I would like to thank our prime sponsors, Stake Capital Group, PwC, as well as our partners, HEC alumni, HEC Paris, and all the 90 speakers and companies who have already come to shed some light on the world of Web3. I remind you that we have 2 to 3 conferences a week. The next will be our traditional blockchain skills and jobs on Thursday, October 27, the conference where we give the floor to Web3 recruiters, candidates, and trainers. And we strongly invite you to stay tuned on our social networks to follow the next conferences available to all. We have a big get-together in real life on December 8th at HEC Alumni House. This is in Paris City Center. And you would discover the diversity of our members, from builders to entrepreneurs, business and tech experts, VCs, and so on. A little bluebird told me that rockstar speakers will be there, and it will be on first come, first served basis. So stay tuned to RSVP. I strongly invite you to register, of course, to all the other conferences, and we will circulate a link in the chat to do so. So to come back on today's subject, we are all very happy to welcome professionals from different backgrounds and industries who will share their experience on how NFTs stepped in their industry with a focus on the phygital journey. So we have today Adam Busco, architect at Future is Meta, Clément FOUCHER, Chief Growth Officer and co-founder of METAV.RS, Gaspard Randon de Grolier, CEO of La Nouvelle Cave and Chief of Staff for CDO Group, Casino Group, Alexandre Vanucci, Director of Les Art Gallery, Edouard Marguin, Chief Operation Officer of Lavinia, and Robin Sarfati, Chief Technical Officer and co-founder of Farandole. So we will have 45-minute discussion with them, and I invite you all to ask your questions in the chat. Please don't hesitate, and we will take them at the last 15 minutes of the talk. And then for the first time in these talks, we will introduce you a metaverse experience. We will bring you into Lavinia's virtual wine cellar inside Farandole's gallery on Decentraland. So you will know more at the end of this talk after 1 hour. And stay with us, it's gonna be fun, and you will, for the first time, for some of you, get in Decentraland. So please remember to let us know your questions in the chat. And thank you very much for being with us tonight, this evening. I will start with, I hope, a quick introduction about NFTs. And then the floor will be yours. So during the 2010, early 2010, the blockchain gradually arose the curiosity of the art world, and then the wine, luxury, and fashion industries. Firstly, because of its interest for recording the provenance, ownership, and traceability of items, and consequently for the authenticity. Then much more dramatically from March 2021, this time under another name, NFTs. So this acronym, meaning non-fungible token, corresponds to the name given to a token standard proposed in September 2017 for the Ethereum blockchain. We call it usually ERC 2071, and then other standards were created. Some of us started investing in cryptocurrencies in 2017, but more or less, we never heard about NFTs at that time, and it's quite new. In essence, NFTs are unique digital assets, which can be associated to an underlying digital or physical asset, and whose ownership is recorded on the blockchain. So this standard marks the culmination of several years of research and development to use the blockchain as a distributed ledger for non-fungible assets. Well, the floor is yours, and now we will let the companies introduce themselves.
Thank you so much, Maxime. Okay. Yes, I introduce of each company. I share of display. Just a second. Okay, good. But just Gaspard, it's possible to introduce of each your company?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, everyone. Very happy to be here. So I will briefly talk about La Nouvelle Cave. I think we can move on to the next slide. So basically, La Nouvelle Cave is a experimentation laboratory for the Groupe Casino, which we use to try and develop innovations in terms of retail. But it's also as a specific banner, independent brand, approaching traditional wine selling with the will to completely change it. On the left, you can see a look and feel of our stores, which aim at considerably changing, just how you feel when you enter a wine cellar, and rejuvenating this image, breaking the timidity or even like the self-refrain you could have entering those stores because some consumers don't feel really at ease. So our ambition is both to be the most innovative, and we'll see a little bit afterwards which kind of innovation we're talking about, but also the most omni-channel wine cellar. In terms of omni-channel, so to speak, when we look at how we sell actually our products, 50% of those are done through in-store. We have 2, soon to be 3 stores in Paris. We are also very much present on marketplaces, Just Eat, Deliveroo, Uber Eats, Epicerie. We are present in dark stores to execute those. And then we have our own e-commerce website. I think this context is very important to give you the sense of why we developed our initiatives in Web3. And we can move on to the next slide. So yeah, I think we can move to the next slide. Yeah, thank you. So we aim at changing the experiment in store. So we have things such as a chiller, which allow us to refresh any bottle we have in 2 minutes. We can make people try our wines through the Enomatic very easily in store. We have on our website, we have a chatbot, which is kind of state of the art in this. But the point is always to use technology to solve a problem we observe with our consumers. And the first thing we observe is young people are shy when buying online because buying wine online is difficult. So we reproduced one of our stores through VR and offered it on our website. And the point is we took the hype of Metaverse, went down to what was actually valuable for us through VR, and then we applied it. And we did kind of the same for NFTs more recently, when we developed, we launched a collection in partnership with Maison Bouet, which is a big wine cellar, in which we associated 1 NFT per bottle or per pack of 6 bottles. These are very good bottles, and they are not fully aged, and they are often bought and then resold by the consumers. And the point was you know what? Usually you struggle to buy and sell these bottles. Now you have the NFT. You don't have to send the bottle when you sell it. You just have to send the NFT. And when you want to redeem the bottle, you just send the NFT to the maison. So you also solve the question of the stocking, and you ensure the traceability of the product. Because if the wine is not perfectly conserved, it loses all its states and then its value. So this is how we approach innovation.
Okay, thank you so much, Gaspard. And the second is METAVERS with Clément.
Yes, hello everyone. Very glad to be here. I'm Clément. I'm one of the 4 co-founders of METAV.RS. I'm in charge of all the marketing and sales part. I guess you can go on the next slide, as long as it was a video, but it's a PDF. So what we are doing at METAV.RS, we are doing a Metaverse management platform kind of a CMS for the metaverse, meaning that we are convinced that brands will need to manage their brand in different virtual worlds in a centralized way, meaning that there will be lots of decentralized environment all over the web and the metaverse, and they need a concrete dashboard to manage their presence. In the dashboard, in the solution, you can manage all your Web3 assets with cross-metaverse integrations. You can sell these NFTs directly on your e-com website or create landing pages in no-code. And then we will link it to different, what we call metaverse apps, third-party apps to create value on them, like kind of CRM for loyalty 3.0. We also editing miniverses or virtual dressing rooms to display your products in a 3D environment directly integrated on the brand's website. I won't go too much in the presentation. We are 20. We just raised 3 million with the top tier investors, and we are hiring. And I'm in front of HEC. We are hiring a business developer intern for January.
Okay, thank you so much, Clément. And the third presentation in Lizera House with Alexion.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for the invitation. I'm very glad to be here. So my turn quickly to go through Lézard or Lézard House for familiar people. It's basically a creative studio that was launched in 2018, dedicated to study how technology can transcend and can be leveraged for creative processes. We have made the turn into Web3 last year when we realized all the new needs that creators had. I mean, native, as we say, crypto native digital creators, creating with new tools, creating new movement, new ways of making art, but that need to benefit from the opportunity offered by Web3 to be accompanied on fields that are not their core activity. For example, creating experiences from an artwork, bringing an art or concept to a VR environment to build metaverse experiences, even for strategy, how to model a collection of digital artwork to be sold as NFT. We use NFT as a way to finance an evolutive projects around the artworks and to finance physical finalities. So that's why the Phygital is really a big thing for us, because we really try to connect to generate use cases to show people, look what we can do with NFT. So we accompany creators on it. So basically we are, the core activity of Lézard is R&D, creative R&D, abstract research with iteration, etc. And we work with technological makers too, in order to see how we can transform a digital production, a digital artwork into a physical artwork. So we are developing many use cases. We have our own NFT platform, a curative platform, position on that what we call digital to physical project. So using tech at the center.
Quelle année, enfin, au hasard, vous m'avez demandé la décision unilatérale.
So I think someone is not muted.
Yes, it's good.
Okay, so I was finishing the presentation saying that to materialize our D2P digital to physical model, we open a physical space in Barcelona where we are established to just propose a real place, physical place, to propose both digital and physical experiences.
Thank you so much, Alexion, and excuse me of the mute. And the next is Metaverse architecture with Adam. It's good.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the invite. My name is Adam Busco, and I'm an architect at Future is Meta. And some year and a half ago, me and my partner in crime, Weronika Marciniak, who is also sitting at this virtual roundtable, we founded our own digital design studio, and we basically design metaverse architecture. So here on this page, you can see a few of our latest projects. And most notably, the one on the left bottom corner is the Polish National Bank. So we started as only doing metaverse architecture, and it grew into a bigger operation that we now just bring brands into the metaverse. And we have some, I would say, now long-standing relation with Farandole, and we are very happy to step in and help with creating their online metaverse gallery. And then, well, why Phygital will be interested and important to us is that we are real-life architects, and we've been working in architecture for quite some time, close to 10 years, both of us. And the concept of digital twins is something that we've been working for quite a while. So usually when we design a real building, we design first the digital environment for it. We test it there, we see how it works, how it looks, and all that stuff. So this notion of actually having something both in physical world and in digital world is very close to us. So this whole project is very interesting to us. And yeah, there's our website, futureismeta.io. If you're interested to learn a bit more, please visit us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adam. On the next project is Farandole with Rubin.
Hello, nice to meet you, everyone. Happy to talk here. So at Farandole, we are building a Web3 platform for wine with a specific purpose. So our purpose is to value the producer and the consumer through ownership and traceability of our wine assets. So we believe the technology of blockchain can really unlock the power of making ends meet with producer and buyers in many ways. We will solve with the platform many problems for the producer. They will be able to access many tools like we saw with Metaverse project, also that we can develop many ways to connect to the customer through marketing tools and valuing the production of the winemakers from the beginning. So they will be able to issue their wine as NFT before even they are produced or before they are even in the bottles, but they will create the value from there and connect to the buyer. We will value also the buyer by enabling peer-to-peer environments. So you are able to buy, resell, and have full ownership of every bottle that are backed with physical assets. Okay, so that's the purpose of the platform. And basically, our approach is a bit different from other projects because we want to cover the whole life cycle of the bottle. And wine is a very interesting asset for that because before the production, it has already some value. And then there is a long time for storage. You don't want to store it in your own wine cellar, but you want to keep the full ownership of the asset. And only NFT allows this kind of ownership while not having the asset physically. So it's very interesting concept to push. And also post-consumption, we believe there is still value. Instead of keeping empty bottles in your cellar, you can throw it away, but you still have the NFT to prove and to use the bottle and the ownership of the bottle. We will release a new platform in November. In the chat, we will send a link form for those who are interested to connect to the platform. We will work with multiple domains with the release. So you'll have some surprise there and new bottles. You already have a few bottles available on marketplace.farandole.io, and more will come with the second version of our website.
Thank you so much, Rubin. And just last one with Edouard with company Lavinia, but it's not, I don't have a presentation.
Yes, sorry about that. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I'm glad to be here. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Lavinia. Lavinia was founded about 20 years ago. We are a wine and spirits distributor in Europe. I will join Gaspard in many ways in our approach today, because until 5 years ago, we were having really a traditional approach. And then we tried to deploy a much more omni-channel approach to what we do at Lavinia. As an example, we went from the past 5 years from 5% to 50% of our share in e-commerce. And we do use many of the different things that were mentioned by Gaspard, such as the chiller, the different marketplaces, épicerie, the same-day delivery, basically anything that helps the consumer either in a physical or online way. We have 3 stores today in Paris, in Madrid, and Geneva, and we operate the brand in Europe through retail only for consumers, even if we have retail for final consumers, as well as corporate for all services such as gifts and events for companies. I was very interested in this project we went through with Farandole, because I used to be the CDO of Lavinia for almost 6 years. So I was in charge of the digital transformation, and it is still on its way, especially today with the rise of NFTs and Web3. So I'm really glad we can present this project tonight.
Thank you so much. Okay, good. It's very interesting of everyone. Just the second part, it's the vision of the Phygital in your industry. It's possible to take a definition and example of a consumer journey for every for the project. Just you start with a Gaspard with La Nouvelle case.
Yeah, sure. I think, and it's open for discussion, of course. But our key starting point was even if on the company side we have a Web3 sensibility, we were not sure it was the case of our clients, and it's always with the client in mind that we try to innovate. And this is what I tried to stress out earlier when I presented the Nouvelle Cave. And it's and when you specifically look at our consumer, like La Nouvelle Cave consumer, we have a tendency of being on the younger side of the spectrum of the wine consumers. This is why we built La Nouvelle Cave the way we built it, but at the same time, it has implications. And one example of this is when you look at our products, I would say that we are slightly under-indexed in terms of very premium Grand Cru types of wine. And our consumers are not necessarily used to types of buying which are related to this kind of wine. And a perfect example of this is the format of the allocation, which is consumers buying the wine even before it is produced. And I think this is what Robin was talking about slightly earlier. And our consumers do not necessarily know this, and they are way more oriented towards, we take a traditional a bottle of wine and we consume it this day of this weekend. So the first point was for me to empower my teams in store, to train them to describe how the NFT were working, what was an NFT, to make sure they were able then to sell it, and then to sell the NFTs, not only online as we could have done, but also in store. To make sure that the program of buying the NFT would start by our store, by explanations, by our cavists, who are the expert within our network, within our company of the wine. And it felt very important for me that the expertise would stay on their side, even if it was not a technical expertise. This was the first starting point. The second starting point was, with our consumer, it is going to be difficult to sell them something without making it physical in some sort of way. And this is why we also printed on wood planks the NFTs, to make sure we would cover at least one additional consumer use cases, which would be the gifting, because given the quality of the bottles, most of them were going to be presents, so we needed to have this. And thanks to this, and thanks to the training, we have managed almost sold out to almost sell out the whole collection. We sold, I saw the question in the chat, so I'm going to answer right away. We sold 20 bottles, which is little to start. It's a tiny start, and we were conscious of the fact that we wanted to have a limited first collection. We had, I think, 22 pieces to sell, and we sold 20. The point was to make sure we would sell everything and communicate with our consumers. So as really a first step, having a physical first and then digital parcours. And then once the consumers did buy physically, we sent them the NFTs on their wallets, which we had collected the day they bought, and then established a contact with them through emails. So because it was also one of the difficulties we face, it is the lack of reachability of the consumers who have just the NFTs. So we needed to first put a lot of information in the NFTs on how to be reachable, and then stay in touch with our first level buyers. I did speak a lot. I don't know if anyone has anything to add on this phygital aspect or questions on it. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you, Gaspard. And we talked about it a lot. It's really important. The physical experience, particularly at this stage of NFTs, is really important, because even though the blockchain provides the security and trust that we lack from the current digital world, the sensation of the physical world are still like our most primal instinct that will give us the trust. So before we reach a stage where everyone understands all the tooling, all the possibilities of the NFTs, we need to go through this stage of physical interaction in a shop to explain the interest of NFTs. And now a lot of tooling is being developed. We can see like software built to manage your NFTs in the metaverse, etc. So a lot of tooling is being built, and all this tooling will make it real for a lot of people that don't feel it real for now. But first we need to go in the physical world, meet people and talk to them, and that's the first stage, definitely.
Totally, Ruben. Sorry, Clément. Go.
I would just add that we meet lots of brands that aim to launch their NFTs or that aim to do metaverse, but this is not the final point. This is just an enabler. You need first to think on objectives and what will be the main use case. And there you define if you would need to add blockchain at some point. But I mean, we consider ourselves as experience providers. And sometimes we just say, okay, the use case is pretty cool, but we do not need to use NFTs there. After that, I have plenty of examples to share with you, but go ahead, Alexandre.
Yeah, no, totally. It was I was going to go in that sense. Is that yes, on my part. So I'm more dealing with artists and more globally creators who want to explore possibilities offered by Web3 for the community building, but also for the new tools. So either native artists or even traditional, what we call traditional artists who want to explore and amplify their experience. And the first question I ask, it's my, like every day, at least one artist, why do you want to use NFT? And one time out of two, you don't have a clear answer because, and I think that participates also to the craze of NFTs, of the fact that they got a kind of sulfurous reputation for, okay, that's a wave, we want to surf in. We have just, you know, argument of surfing on the wave. And why the real adoption, because we are talking between us, we are a bit the tree who hides the forest. I don't know if in English the expression, this French expression exists, but we are talking among and between Web3 actors, but we are still, I don't know, maybe 1% of the population. We have to think about mass adoption, and this will come from use cases, real use cases. And Robin, yes, tools development, and I would add the layer user experience on platforms and using those softwares. That's very important.
Yeah, I completely agree, Alexandre, with all you've said. I would add two things, and it will answer one of the questions I saw on the chat. On which platform we did sell it. We made the very conscious choice to sell before the mint, and thus we sold in stores and in our own websites, and then we minted and sent the NFTs to the people who bought, to make sure people would not be lost in where to buy, and to make sure also it was not you know, an expert platform. This was the first part, and the second part, in which I fully agree with you, Alexandre, is we have now been for a few months in the bear market, so NFTs are less in the hype, but I've been thinking, there was a craze late 2021, early 2022 about NFTs, and I've been asked like many times, do launch an NFT collection, maybe for, you know, just to make a fidelity program or thing like this. And each time my answer was, why would I use NFTs with back then the cost of doing NFTs mostly on Ethereum, which would have been enormous in terms of gas fees, when simple applications are used every day to do without. Like any supermarket line would have a app for their fidelity program without NFTs. Why would I use NFTs? What would be the use case? Oh, but people could exchange their advantages. Yeah, but who is going to do this? Like, who is going to be aware of this? And you end up with 1% of the percent of a percent, and you have 3 people who are going to exchange the advantages. And I'm like, is it going to be really worth it? I think it's too early for this kind of use cases. And this is why I was very happy to meet with the Maison Vouée and to find this use case, which I think made sense because it solved an actual consumer problem.
And I think that's where, like, the Phygital, to come back to the initial question, makes the point by making sense with reconciliating, because there are many different now. Since the time we talk about Phygital, that's a very old Web2 concept. We are already, I'm sure we will find some application at the time of the Minitel of a real Phygital, but there are many definitions. Reconciliating projects having both physical and digital dimensions, but I think that's all about providing a complementarity in terms of experience. We have a product in your case. In art, we can have an artwork. That's one thing. That's the product. If I say it like,
if you might,
but you have the experience derived from it. That can be either digital, either physical. Both are complementing each other. One can be a bridge to another, and the other can be the bridge to the one. That can be and, that can be or, that can be and or, and that makes that people have the choice of experiences to choose the best version of what they want. And I think I would say the complementarity of digital and physical experiences.
From our side, I would say that the experience and the immersive experience, that would be kind of a key issue here, because when we're talking about combining physical and digital, product and the way you buy it. Like if we have Web 2 Phygital experience, that will kind of be e-commerce, where you just go on the website, you click what you want, you get it. Like this is not exciting. This is not Web3. And from our perspective, we finally got into Web3 just because it allowed us to do what we do best, so design digital spaces. So think about Web 2 in the case of our talk today. Web 2 would be going to a website, is just scrolling down, choosing the wine that you like, adding to cart, and that's pretty much it. And then the Web3 version of that would be that you actually go to the wine cellar and then you interact with the products, and then you interact with the sommelier as well. And then you even might get one extra level of additional Web3 experience on top of that. So from our case, we're finally able to produce immersive experiences for the clients. And also from our use cases, we found out that those experiences very often are way more engaging than the regular website. So even though the kind of threshold to get into that experience is a little bit, it's a little bit tougher than with just going onto the website, but people tend to stay longer because they're curious, because they want to learn more, because they form an attachment to the product as well, and then they understand it a little bit better. So yeah, I would, Alexander, totally agree with the experience being the key word in this whole Web3 discussion that we're having today.
Very well. Would maybe Clément or Robin have an opinion about what we mentioned on loyalty programs and this interaction that Adam just shared with us that we can experience in the metaverse? So maybe Clément in the digital wardrobe for luxury or fashion items.
Yes, and I would also continue with the link with the physical. I think beyond the hype and beyond all the use cases that are currently done, what we need to understand is how powerful blockchain and NFTs could be in a marketing stuff and marketing point of view. For example, your NFT can evolve based on geolocation. Your NFT could evolve based on sports results, based on the weather, based on if you have multiple NFTs, then your NFT will evolve, meaning that with dynamic NFTs, you can think of many use cases. We are just kind of an enabler. After that is the job of the agencies or the brands to create these use cases. We co-build it together, but I mean, we are at the very, very beginning. And this is why it's disruptive technology for me, even though that there are also plenty of other use cases in traceability, etc. But even in the marketing field, it will change lots of things. And with the fact of traceability, for sure, when you have a use case that would be a digital twin, if you purchase a shoe in a shop, it will say, okay, it's cool to have a shoe to display it in the high school, but it's even better to have it with you all over the metaverse, all over the different universes that are under creation, meaning that there the brand can be more close to the client, to the customer, and to have a global impact globally with the mechanics of for loyalty. For example, for some retailers, we are working on mechanic. If you purchase a real product in a store, you will get tokens. With these tokens, you will be able to purchase the NFT, and the more NFT you will have, the more rewards you will get. It shows you how it is not only a simple activation, but it's a real transformation plan for brands.
Yeah. Also on the technology, what is important to understand is also the transparency. So transparency is a game changer, I think, in the relationship you have with your customers. So if you issue loyalty programs, everything is verifiable. So it's very important. And the second aspect I think is very important is when you build a loyalty program internally, for a small project, for medium-sized company, it's a lot of investment in terms of technology. With blockchain, and it's quite. If you want to go with a lot of innovation, it can go very far. Like what Metaverse is doing right now is based on open standards, so it will work on every NFT. So their technology is going to work with all the NFTs. And everyone can use it. You don't need to do it twice. You work on open standards, open source, and open data. And I think it's an enabler in terms of technology, and it will be very costly to have a competitive tool against this kind of technology.
If I wanted to be a bit bad spirit, which I'm not wanting to, but I could say, what does it make that a Web2 solution could not make? And then I would even push even more for small size companies such as mine. Like for instance, my loyalty program, I've been calling it Fidelity, but it's actually a loyalty program. Thank you. My loyalty program is housed within Shopify. It is done by an app which I pay almost nothing. I determine the amount of money I give based on the money spent by the consumer. Yeah, I do not have specific advantages, but then what is also difficult is what would be the advantages I could give? An event, an access to a exclusive event. This is often what's said, but when I do organize events, I want the maximum of people present because it contributes to make sales, and it's not always easy to lure people. So I think it's quite challengeable. And I think it's mostly because yet it's too early, but I do think it's quite hard to develop it, honestly, because I don't see strong specific, like Web3 specific use cases.
I totally agree. Like maybe some tools needs to be developed and some more appealing use case might need to be developed. But as a more of a CTO point of view in terms of technology choice, if we see on the long term, if you work with Shopify, for example, you have a vendor lock-in. You don't have visibility on the way they use your data, etc. It's not the case on the blockchain. And if you want to move to a competitor, it's very easy because you rely on NFT standards. So it's really easy to switch also and don't have a vendor lock-in in this kind of way. And everyone can build innovation on top of that. So you are talking about lack of use cases. I see that for me, with all the open source and open ecosystem, many innovation will come and you'll be able to use and pick more innovation where you want.
Excuse me, Edouard from Lavinia. I just wanted to add a few things because I think there are at least two fields when it comes to wine where it will be, we will have use cases very soon, which are primeur on one side and allocations on the other side. Because when it comes to allocations, so a restrained number of products, of wines, of bottles produced by a winemaker, in a sense, it's already a collection. So basically for a winemaker to work with these allocations in a way that people do use it with art at the moment will come very soon. And the other field is, of course, the system of primeur in Bordeaux, where basically you buy the bottles 2 years before they are even produced. And the way the market is working today is only based on the personal trust that you have in the brand you buy from. So when it comes to Lavinia, we are one of the major players in France when it comes to primeur. But we know that there were players in the past who had big trouble when it comes to primeur. And I'm pretty sure the use cases of how do we apply NFTs to primeur will come very soon. I saw earlier that Weronika from Félan Ségur was in the audience, but she's not here anymore. I'm pretty sure every property in Bordeaux is looking at these use cases at the moment.
Yeah, I fully agree with the concept, and even for the primeur and allocation, I see also two additional advantages which are actually linked to the very concept of NFTs. First, of course, the traceability, but this is This is one element. But the thing which is very important is the fact that you have royalties, and the fact that you can retribute the castles, and I mean the castles or the domains or the sellers based on the second-hand market. And I think this is actually a big game changer. And the second element is like for the working capital of the wine sellers. You don't have to, because for the allocations, allocation for the premier, you need to buy early. You give out the money, and then the producer has sometimes several years to give you the bottles, and you have to take this in your working capital. If you can't sell the through NFTs the bottles before, it gives you fluidity, flexibility, and it improves your financials considerably, and it puts the weight and the financial weight on your clients. And I think this is these are two in a very secure way. And I think these two dimensions are very, very are going to make this use case very valuable. I fully agree with this.
Thank you for pointing that out. It's very clear. Maybe we could talk about some sustainability consideration now that we point out real use cases, tangible that make sense for all of you. So maybe Robin, you could mention how it impacts actually in the transport, and maybe Adam, you could mention in your case as well what you see for sustainability. So Robin, if you want to go first.
Yeah. So I would like just to start on the bias of proof of work. I would call that, like there has been many critiques on the blockchain about sustainability. If we don't ask all the nodes of the blockchain to compute everything and very hard, we lose a lot of the consumption. So we saw that with the move of Ethereum to proof of stake. So it's really important to understand that at first. And then in our case of the wine, what is the concept that is really important to understand is the ownership, because it changes the way you need to move all your products. So if you have full trust on the ownership of your NFT, you don't need to move the physical asset every time it switch ends, basically. So we can limit by a lot all the transport using the authenticity and the reliability of the blockchain with that. That's one of the first use case, I would say.
And if I could add a little bit from our perspective, let's say from the architectural perspective on sustainability of Web3 and of NFT ecosystem at large, I would say that, I mean, one of my favorite examples of that would be that instead of, let's use our example that we're discussing today. We're talking about, wine sellers. We talk about selling wines as NFTs. Imagine like if every single company that we're having here today would have to build a new seller in order to get to the consumers in that given country. The amount of transport, raw materials, emissions on maintaining that, emissions on building and all that stuff will be significantly bigger than whatever we're going to use to just compute this. So I would say that whenever we can avoid building, and saying that as an architect maybe doesn't make so much sense, but if you think about just the amount of building that we have to do in order to realize all of those ideas, that's already one thing. And then if you think about operating such building, and then you change your mind, like for instance on Christmas, you would like to have a Christmas theme exhibition, and then comes the harvest season, you would like something different. This is the same case, right? Like you will have to build all those things over and over again, wasting resources and just contributing to climate change. So in terms of just purely CO2 emissions and extraction of the materials, it makes a lot of sense to move a lot of that industry into the metaverse, and then we can save a lot of resources that way.
Thank you very much, Adam. Before we take the question on the chat, maybe, Alexandre, you could let us know what you think about the question of legitimacy when it comes to creating artwork, creating, having a gallery, when it comes to the curation in this industry. Because a lot of people are creating artwork, or maybe Clément creating luxury items, fashion items, and maybe some professional might think that those are not very legitimate because they are not, coming from an art history background or something else.
Yes, thank you, Maxime. You bring on the table the famous and eternal and worldwide, and I would say decentralized question about subjectivity of art. What is the value of art? What is the value of an artist? I think I would answer the question by telling my personal observation of the perception about this legitimacy view from the different actors. If we go back to the advent of NFTs and now the throwback that we see, like the crisis, the bear market, we see that today more than ever, NFTs suffer. So we can answer the question by saying, first, the legitimacy also of the NFT. Is it legitimate as a format, as a way of creating? Of course it is, when it's about creating new experiences, as we say, and creative evolutive projects. When I say evolutive, means project built through time from an initial work. It becomes, of course, legitimate. On one side, we have a lot of artists that have been resistant or even adverse because of concern linked to protection of NFTs. The reputation of NFTs is maybe justified by a lot of history, like some people just took over the work of certain artists and minted some NFT to make profit on it. So of course, it doesn't help NFT to be considered as a new legitimate and legal way to do this. We lack of compliance and we lack of regulatory frame around the NFT. Still, it's very important to bring the question on the table to solve this problem, the IP. That's a concern that starts to rise among the industry because people, native crypto native, that has been in the space for now 1-2 years, start to understand that saying NFT is nothing else than just a token that allows to create, to transfer and to own and to exchange a digital value. But the rest, the underlying, if I talk about art and design on my part, the underlying representation of an artwork which is linked to the NFT, is submitted to the traditional laws about and code about intellectual property. So when you add this layer, and a lot of builders, a lot of platforms start to build around this, to inject IP, to create license models, IP session model for artists who want to see or concede part or totality of their right, including right of representation, reproduction, either in digital, either in physical, rights of adaptation, rights of making commercial use from the artwork. When you have this, the question about the sulfurous reputation about NFT, like they are not a proper way to trade art, is to me resolved. You protect the creator, you protect the collectors. But still, to me, a lot of education still has to be done. A lot of gallerists saw the gallerist industry. So at the beginning, it still sees the NFTs as a new technology, as a threat for their activity. The fact is now, the demand comes from the artists more and more. And art and galleries will go as the communities of artists where the artists want to take them. So a lot of examples start to show that we are going into this. Artists, I see it every day, we have, as I said, sooner digital native artists, but we have traditional artists who have been exercising their art for decades and now who wants to add a dimension to their art to bring it in the metaverse. So of course, the question of legitimacy is posed for new artists because they have not exist. They were not able to exist before. Now they can. They are new. Their art is new. So the traditional world don't see it as an established value. So the question to me is not, I would say, is not to look at the history about why NFTs have brought like a kind of misunderstanding of what you can do with or bad reputation. I think we just need to understand that it's just a medium to create new things and that is open for existing artists or new or future artists. I don't know if it answers in every dimensions to your question, Maxime. I try to make the link between the legitimacy and also the curation. The curation, just a quick word about it, is central in democratizing not the NFT in itself, but the democratizing the new way and the technology that is used to provide new things. Curators are at every level, of course, on platforms. Getting more and more specialized. We're starting to see a phenomenon of nicheization. I don't know if a niche of platform dedicated to certain kind of things. But curation is done also, has to be done by a museum and digital institution, by private companies too, proposing platforms to sell their product and to add artists, to make makers of common goods and artist collaborators on amplified common products. So this is very interesting. So everybody curates to create value to the product he or she sell. So the curation is multi-level and is essential for the future of NFT, for their sustainability. And they will show the example and they will build it. That's what I would say on these two correlated subjects, the legitimacy of artists, of NFTs in itself, and the curation impact and importance in this building phase that we live.
Thank you so much. And maybe I should point out that previously to NFTs, you had net art from the 90s with the birth of the internet. And I would say that NFTs have finally, put in place the right of royalties to the creators. And we will see how it evolves now that some platforms are starting to lower the royalties to creators. But it's very important that a lot of people have fought very hard when they were doing the first net art to get their rights, and that it was an inherent right in NFTs. All right, thank you so much. I'll try to take some questions now. I think in the order, the first one would be for Adam, for Future is Meta. I think it was about the metaverse. How many metaverse are there? Like maybe you could tell us a bit more about the monthly active users and some of them. There was recently kind of a polemic about Decentraland and the adoption.
Exactly. Thank you for that question. I'll gladly say a little bit more about it. So I'll try to keep it brief. I know we don't have that much time. So first of all, the answer to that question really hinges on the definition of the metaverse, because this is where some people do not agree actually what metaverses are. But I would say if we count, places like Minecraft and Roblox and Fortnite, they technically, in my rule book, are either proto-metaverses or metaverses. Then we have basically millions of users, right? In Roblox alone, we counted in dozens of millions, I think, yearly active users. But anyway, like in the most notable blockchain-based metaverses, we have Sandbox, we have Decentraland, we have some of the newer examples like the Somnium space, and the discussion about users is still very much ongoing. I wouldn't trust the alarmist headlines from Reddit saying that Decentraland has 38 active users, because just from our projects is not true. for our plots, we get at least 150, 300 visitors unsolicited to the plot. So I think the average daily active users in Decentraland is going to be around 8,000, which is still not a lot, but it is growing. I would say that the troubling part of the metaverse would be Meta's Horizon Worlds, because this is where the problems start. Like those guys over there, they're really tumbleweeds rolling. There's not that many people using those, even though they have like 500,000 downloads of the game. So just to sum up, I mean, Metaverse is growing. It's in its infant phase. There's many of them, and there are many types of them. So if you, depending on the demographic you're trying to reach, there's going to be many different options. The most popular will be with the younger demographics. So if you're trying to reach someone around age, let's say 9 to 15, you're going to get a lot of places to do that. For like slightly older people who maybe have their own ways of using the internet and they're not yet ready for Web3, it's going to take still some time. I hope that answers your question.
Sure, definitely. Thanks a lot. Next one, I think, is for Robin. There was a question about the warehouse cost in the wine NFTs, and also where are they sold, on which platform? Do you add smart contracts? And if there are further sales of the bottle, how can we know if the bottle has been drunk or not?
Okay, for the first question, who does pay the warehouse cost? So usually it will be included in the price. We agree at assurance where it will be stored, and it will be included with the price. So usually wine have a time for consumption where they are at their best, and usually the price will include the time of storage until that date. Okay, and second question. So we use open standards, NFT open standards. So we will build our custom platform to sell and buy for peer-to-peer. But we use open standard, and we really believe in the ownership concept. So you will be also able to sell the NFTs on OpenSea or other platforms that support these standards. And the last question, it was,
what happened when the bottle is drunk?
Okay, so we have a concept of burning the physically backed token. So when you order at your house, the physically backed token, we consider it consumed. We also think it will be better at first for a virtuous system. You will just burn the physically backed token to receive the bottle, and it will issue another NFT, which is a collectible, but does not own the right to collect a physical bottle.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't think I'm missing other questions which have not been already answered. We had some definition in the chat, so thank you for sharing insights. Okay, in the meantime, I will start sharing the link to access the Metaverse gallery for the experience of today. I should remind that it's not necessary for all of you to go now. It might create some traffic jam actually, and the gallery will be open for 3 days. So I will share the link now, and you will also receive it by email later, and you will have 3 days to complete the game in order to get your NFT badge, and so to attend a masterclass happening at Lavinia Wine Cellar in Paris, organized by Laurent David about the Chateau Edmus, and to have a great wine tasting. So please feel free to ask a question while I share you the link, and I will walk through Decentraland with you to explain how to actually get there with or without the wallet.
I think Robin Valla wants to ask a question. I see in the chat.
Hi, so I'm going forward with my question. I have a question for all of you who presented tonight. What about communities? How do you define communities, and how the relationship between projects and communities change in Phygital in Phygital NFTs compared to regular NFTs? And how do you bring value and to the community, and how community brings value to the project? So that's a question for any of you, or if you all want to reply, I'd be happy to.
So maybe I can jump in and try to answer to you from my perspective. I was saying that we are working on experiences. So we developed a model that we call the digital to physical. So basically, it's how to build either physical finalities derived from an initial digital production. So you tell a story and you bring people through a premise, through a set of links, or maybe contract, you know, through the IP license that you write with lawyers, and that create intrinsic value to the NFT, can be added to a utility value. And this is, to me, the IP which links an artist and its let's say public beholder. That becomes in Web3 a community. We don't talk about publics anymore, we talk about community, because there is a link and you have to create and you have to prove what link is. Of course, it's a traditional scheme. You have an artist producing a work and you can acquire it, so you get basically the physical one. Cool. But now with 3D, you have three bricks of intrinsic value in the NFT, and I talk for art. It's the artwork in itself and the experiences it proposes through time. So the combination of both, the artistic value, the utility value that will provide to the holder the answer of what can I get from the NFT. So I think we can all agree with different use case. I mean, in the wine industry, it's what can I do with the NFT? Here is what can I make with what do I get from the artwork and from the proposed experience. So the promise engages the artist's reputation, because if it doesn't deliver, I mean, this is a problem. The community just falls down and no trust anymore. And then the IP, which is the legal contract between the artist himself and the collector. So that makes really 3 layers of intrinsic value creation. And then how do you keep up the community? It's on an initial project that seduces, of course, the collectors. And that's where the evolutivity of the experience is very important, because you co-build with them. If you use NFT to finance the overall project, and I mean, royalties can be a way to finance a part of the experience, but I mean, even with the primary market, you can allocate a part of the NFT price, which is directly reinvested in the project. Then you build a real link with your community, because the community becomes collector, but also investor of the project. And that's very important. So it becomes an aligned objective, an aligned vision, and an aligned construction that you do together with the artist. You can have the right of voting, you have your voice, you can be co-creator of, if the experience is multiple, either digital or physical, or many versions proposed, that are proposed as possible utilities from the artwork, then the collectors are co-creator, because they decide the final shape of the artwork in this case, or what they want to experiment for it. So I could go further by quoting examples of what we do through the between lines, so by transforming a digital production with a network of 3D printers that print in innovative material that are developed through R&D with the investment of collectors to make the 3D print advanced and to propose an evolutive project on 1 year. I can quote other example, but you have it allows you build a community with a project derived from an artwork. That's different. That's the difference with Web3.
I would add, like it's such an amazing opportunity to value the community. If you take again the wine example, like you can really like increase solve a problem that we have today in Web2 communities, is the verifiability of information. So if, for example, if you are a member of the community who has consumed a lot of wine, we can verify that. And if you deposit an advice, a comment on a wine, your comment can have a stronger impact if you are involved member of the community. You participated a lot to wine events, to wine tours, etc. And then you deposit your advice, you have a stronger role to play inside the community. Plus, added with the freedom and the economic freedom to exchange the NFT, etc., you create like a fascinating incentive for the community to be involved in the community and in the wine industry by themselves. You are passionate and you can really develop your passion much further.
On this topic, I will just say that you do not start by the NFT, you start by the community. It is a success because like we sold out because we have consumers who know us, who know what we stand for, what they can expect from La Nouvelle Cave in terms of selection, good wine, good opportunities, the fact that we curate this. And then it does not come as a surprise, the fact that we have this NFT line. They have known us to be always trying new things. So it needs not to be a surprise and to be like, oh, what is this again? They have just been jumping on the train. It's more like, okay, so if they are doing this, there must be a reason. Let's dig into it. And this is the way we approached it. And this is why we did not, I mean, we took the decision not to launch a Discord, for instance, because it would have felt a bit hypocrite for us to do this. We are not Web3 native. So we used our existing and current ways to communicate with our consumers and communities before doing the launch and not trying to fit with standards which are not ours. This would be my answer.
And I think it's just a new way of launching projects. In Web3, before we were customer-centric, now we are more community-centric. How to create value for the community, how to put it at the heart of the overall program that you aim to launch. And I think it's a good way of doing it.
We're talking about traceability of NFTs and underlying assets sooner, but I would add like the traceability of the community through the wallet. It's a very good way to interact with them. Many examples, you know, privileged access, airdrops, etc., can be also a tool to cement a bit more like the link and keep the community involved.
Thank you guys for your answers.
Well, thank you, Robin, for asking that. Such a lot of information creating from this great question. Thank you so much. Feel free to ask any other question, everyone. I will quickly share you the Decentraland walkthrough in the meantime.
Hugo, to answer your question, if you're looking for the bottles, you need to go upstairs in the gallery and you can find them. I'm right now going and seeing if they're all there in place, but it seems that everything is working.
So I'm going to get back on the community thing. And how do you think, when compared to more classic business models, how do you think communities and the way you create and the community creates value for the project, how do you think it affected your business model or general business models in Web3?
I will answer that for the first shot. The first impact is the focus you have to put on the community and the investment you have to put on that. It's a lot of effort. So the first impact. But then I think it builds over time. So times will tell a little bit more for our experience. But for others, other projects I followed, it has such a strong impact in the valuation.
Yes, so yes, playing on the decentralized, architecture or conceptual architecture of the Web3 by creating communities first to convince and to present a project and to talk to people, to either to tell a story or to tell them something that makes sense for them, to make them personally involved in the project. And then you can co-build with them to create, a system of ambassadors, for example, to relay the message, to co-build, to launch also kind of workshops or private events or not private events, relying on those community, I mean OG, or community member that want to be empowered within the community. So it's really what I would say is like community is active and not that makes the difference with what we call customer base and the community. That's the fundamental difference. The community is active for the project, and everybody builds. And so the dimension of collaboration and co-construction is essential. And that's how also you can leverage from the community for the project itself.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
All right. So it seems like there is an issue with the form once you have collected the bottles in the gallery. So no worries, the building is open for 3 days. So you will have plenty of time to come back to do it again, but sorry for the inconvenience. So for most of us who don't know yet Decentraland, you will arrive on this screen where you can play as a guest without prior need of any crypto wallet or NFT account, or you can create your wallet here. If you create your wallet here, I might recommend you to use this one because you can simply create your NFT account wallet with your email. The other ones are very, very used, and they are commonly used, but a bit more complex. So maybe you should start with this one and using your email. It's really easy. For now, I will go as a guest. Decentraland is really adapting the capacity with your machine. This is already quite smart from this platform. Some other metaverse are meant for mobile devices, actually. So you have a plenty of different metaverse possible. And we have this one, Decentraland, is where you have the most building and creations so far, if I'm not mistaken. So when you arrive on the gallery, you have this pop-up. Glad to see another friend. So I will start here at the entrance. So you have these robot friends to talk to understand a bit more the purpose, and then you can start walking through the building. You have this platform here, which is actually working as a lift to go up to other floors, or you can simply take the walkway. So along the way, you will have 32 bottles to collect. I try to go slow for the screen. So this is not one of the bottles. The one on the pedestal are not the right one. And the bottles are more transparent like this, translucid. So different floor, different information to discover. This one is about blockchain at HEC, which we thank again for today's organization. And I should remind you that we have 2 to 3 events a week. So please follow us on the social networks. And we have this big in real life event happening on December 8th. So we hope to see you there so you can discover our members and see the diversity of different members from builders, tech people, business people, VCs, and so on. So right now I will collect 1 bottle and a second bottle and so on. So you have 3 days to join us here, and you can really take it easy and take the lift. So this is really, the very beginning of what virtual sellers could become. And we are really happy to welcome Lavinia to create their first virtual seller, and thankful of Future is Meta for building it with us. So I will not take too much time. You can see Lavinia here downstairs. We'll let you discover a little more about their history. So it's been already an hour and a half with a lot of great questions. I shall try not to forget to remember the speakers. Thank you so much for your time today and all these insights. Thank you to all the participants. And once again, please follow us on the social networks, and we'll see you to the next event. I will quickly double check if we don't have anything coming in the question, but I think we should be good. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone, and talk to you very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Night.
Bye-bye.